What's going on, y'all? It's Derek J407, aka Best Heel Ever, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on this week's episode of Lucha Underground. We are on episode 16, so we are moving along on this season. This week, it was all about graver consequences for the Lucha Underground Championship between Mil Muertes and Matanza. The last time those two monsters went head to head, they ended up crashing through the roof of Dario Cueto's office, and never to be seen again, almost. But now they're back here, and they were in graver consequences, and that was the big highlighted main event later on the night. So I'll get to that in a little bit. But first off, let's just run through the show. The show started with Dario Cueto meeting Senator, or not Senator, Councilman Delgado. That was the man who approached the police chief, I think Officer Vasquez, a few weeks ago, talking about how she's dipping into his jurisdiction and all that kind of stuff, and how his employer wouldn't like her, being all up in there and stuff. So Cueto met up with Delgado here. It was in like a bar or something like that. Cueto paid him $50,000 or something like that. Then they had a drink. Delgado mentioned his employer and all that kind of stuff, and he mentioned how his employer would eventually make his way into the temple, make a visit to the temple, and Dario, he looked very nervous. So I have no idea who this guy is, because every time Delgado was talking about him, he was talking about how you think your brother Matanza is so powerful, and it's like you forget about my employer. So it's like, what's going on here? Like, there's someone more powerful than Matanza out there. So that's a pretty scary thought, though. But yeah, so that was pretty much that, though. So the first official match on the show, it was for one of the 7 ancient Aztec medallions. It was a triple threat. It was between Cortez Castro, Mr. Cisco, and Joey Ryan. I blinked and I missed everything because Joey Ryan ended up rolling up, I think it was Cortez Castro, and he got the win. So the big boy in baby oil got the victory. So it was over. I didn't really have much of an opinion on the match. It lasted like 3 or 4 minutes. So sorry if I don't have an opinion on it. Oh well. We had a backstage segment where Katrina was talking to Mil Muertes in his little sacred room or something like that. She's talking to him about making them both immortal by the end of the night. So that was basically the gist of it. Then we had a match for the Trios Championships. It was the new champions, of course, Rey Mysterio, El Dragon Azteca Jr., and Prince Puma defending their titles against Son of Havoc, Ivelisse, and their new partner, Johnny Mundo, who was out there with Taya. So, as you recall, a few weeks ago when the finals of the Trios tournament happened, Dario Cueto announced that Angelico was injured and he wouldn't be able to compete, so they had to go it alone. Ivelisse and Son of Havoc, it was just the two of them. But on this show, they got a new partner, and that being Johnny Mundo. So their styles clashed in this match. It was a really good match. I enjoyed a lot of it, especially the stuff with Rey Mysterio and Son of Havoc. That was really good stuff. I could very much so enjoy a singles match between the two of them. In the end, the masked luchadors won, and they retained their championships. After the match, Taya, who was still out there, she was starting to beat down Ivelisse. Son of Havoc was disposed of, so he couldn't come in and help. But Taya, she was stomping on Ivelisse and all that kind of stuff. Mundo was on the outside, approving of this. So I assume this is leading to a tag team match between these two sides. So I'm sure we'll see that at some point. I think Striker or Vampiro or somebody like that announced that next week will be the Gift of the Gods match. I don't know if that's true or not. I thought I heard them say that, so I don't know. We'll see next week. um, and then just like that, we're in the main event. This show goes by really quick. I love it. It was GRAVER Consequences for the Lucha Underground Championship. Mil Muertes and Matanza Cueto. Last year, Grave Consequences between Mil Muertes and Phoenix was one of the better matches of the year. Probably my favorite Lucha Underground match. Definitely that, along with the All Night Long between Mundo and Puma. But yeah, Grave Consequences last year was awesome, and I had high hopes for this match, and might not have liked it as much as last year, but it was still really good. These two beasts, these two monsters just colliding. So what made this Graver was that there was a casket on each side of the ring. So usually it's just on one side and you gotta put them in there, but nah, in this case there were like 4 caskets all around the ring. So it didn't matter after a while, because eventually Matanza and Mil, they like put 3 caskets on one side of the ring. So it was like, what was the point? I guess the point was just to have a whole bunch of caskets out there so they could get away with doing the kind of things they did. Because we saw like choke slams on top of caskets and power bombs on top of caskets. Mil hit the flatliner off of the ring apron onto a pile of caskets at one point. It was all craziness. At one point, Katrina tried to get involved, and then Mil got rid of her. Dario tried to get involved, and then Matanza took care of Mil, all that kind of stuff. But the main thing that happened, it was towards the end of the match, when it was an exchange between Dario and Katrina, and she ended up slapped the shit out of Dario. But then she turned around and ended up getting well, no, she didn't turn around. She was still had her back turned to Matanza, and Matanza came up and hit her with a chair. This was kind of retaliation for when she hit him with a chair earlier in the match. So he hit her with a chair, and Matanza took the rock, that stone that Katrina carries around from the fire that Mil Muertes was in when he was a little kid and all that kind of stuff. He took that, threw it in one of the caskets, and put Katrina in one of the caskets and locked her inside. So didn't see Katrina for the rest of the match. Another point in this match, Matanza was ripping at Mil's mask, and like a good chunk of his face was kind of exposed there. He did a good job covering it up, but still his mask was ripped, and I thought that was so appropriate, because I recall last year in Grave Consequences between Mil and Phoenix, Phoenix had his mask ripped open by Mil, and I remember that because he had a gash on his head, and Mil was biting at it and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of ironic and appropriate that it happened to Mil in this match. But with Katrina out of the way and the Rock gone, I guess Mil's power kind of decreased a little bit. In the end, though, Matanza was able to hit like a fallaway slam, his scoop slam on Mil, put him in the casket in the ring and closed it shut. And that was it. Matanza, like, booze raining down all over this, but Matanza won. He retained his championship. Dario went to open the casket that Katrina was in, and she was gone. No sign of her anywhere. And then the Druids, kind of the Druids. They're kind of like, kind of like Day of the Dead, kind of voodoo kind of people. They took the casket, and they got to a place and they stopped. And then one of the people who was carrying the casket, he took off the hood and revealed himself to be King Cuerno. So it's like, where is this gonna go? Because we saw what happened with King Cuerno and Katrina last week. So it's like, kind of makes sense that he would be doing this, but you don't really know what he's doing. So I don't know. This might be the last of Mil Muertes we see this season. And then they ended the show with showing Councilman Delgado in a limo. He gave the money to his employer, and was telling him how, Dario thinks his brother is the most powerful being on the planet, when in actuality it's you. We never see this person though. We get a quick shot of a cigar lighting up, but that was it. I don't know. I don't know who it could be. I have no idea who it could be, but I'm really anxious to see it because, talking about how like, we know how powerful Matanza is, but this guy is supposed to be even more powerful than him. So it's like, shit. I'm looking forward to seeing this, whoever this person is. Just like I was looking forward to seeing Matanza, now I'm dying to see who this guy is. So, Lucha Underground, they know how to keep you in suspense. But yeah, another good show, short and sweet, simple, straight to the point, just like I like these shows. Yeah, like I said, next I could have swore I heard the commentators say that next week we'll get the Gift of Gods championship match. But like I said, we'll see. We'll see next week. But as for me, I'm out of here. So y'all take care.